Alexandra and Federica take in the sights on the tourist trail in Barcelona. But they're not foreign visitors, they're private investigators snooping for illegal tourist flats. Alexandra's great-grandfather founded the family-run detective agency in 1927. This is one of her first out-of-doors investigations. She's supported by Federica, a criminologist from Italy. More than 7.5 million visitors will stay at least one night in the city this year. That's over 4 times its population. Booming internet platforms such as Airbnb channel tourists towards private flats, many of them unlicensed. And it's these premises that Alexandra and Federica are tracking down.
Here on the door plate it's written lawyers, but that's not the reality. This flat is used as a tourist apartment. You can hear the foreign tourists inside. The flat is probably rented.
The illegal tourist flats problem exploded about 3 years ago. Alexandra's agency has successfully worked on some 400 such cases. Typically, they involve subletters who deceive the property owners and also don't pay tax. They draw up false contracts under fake IDs, often using those of dead people. The scheme is easy and lucrative. The renters make big money from high overnight rates in what is one of Europe's top tourist destinations.
From one illegal flat, the subletter can make up to €35,000 per year, depending on the size of the flat, and without paying taxes, of course. It is black market money. My investigations into illegal tourist apartments led me to one person managing 50 illegal flats, one single person. When problems arose with this situation, he used his parents or girlfriends as stooges to, let's say, diversify this shady business.
Things began to change when elections brought in a radical left-wing mayor. He extended an existing moratorium on private tourist apartments and froze some 30 hotel projects. It was a major development in a city where 120,000 people work in tourism, generating 14% of its income. We head to one of Barcelona's tourist hotspots, a neighbourhood with buildings designed by Gaudi. We meet David Riba, the director of an agency renting private flats to tourists legally. David started with one flat years ago. Today, he manages 100 high-end tourist apartments. He believes that far from freezing accommodation development, the number of tourist residence licenses should be increased.
With this new moratoria, we are going to have many apartments illegal in the city that we're going to start running. And this is happening right now in all city where we have a moratoria from 10 years. And the result is that we have up to 100 buildings without any use right now.
The situation came to a head last summer after a group of Italian tourists frolicked naked through the streets and shops in the Barcelona district. It sparked angry protests from local residents. In 1 square kilometre, there are some 70 legal tourist apartments compared to around 1,500 illegal ones, netting an estimated annual turnover of €9 million. But locals have had enough of the round-the-clock partying and drinking.
I have a 12-year-old daughter and I don't like her going into these shops where they sell limitless alcohol without any controls whatsoever. All these tourists end up drunk. They piss in the doorways of buildings and in the staircases. Residents trip over drunken people lying in the stairs. It's all about the pissing in the streets, the vomiting at bus stops.
Barcelona's beach attracts 3 million thirsty visitors every year from May to September. The number is rising and so is the alcohol problem. The beach cleaners struggle to keep on top of the mess, collecting 2.5 tons of bottles and cans every day. It costs the city nearly €1.5 million a year just to keep the beach clean.
There are always some weird and strange situations linked to alcohol abuse. I find people sleeping on the beach. They're often in a terrible state, emotionally distraught, breaking down, tearful. Sometimes they mess around with my hosepipe. They are crying, collapsing, or even fighting with each other.
The new mayor has also proposed transforming tourist flats into social housing. Elizabeth says no. She founded an association for flat renters. Letting private apartments to tourists often provides income for people who've lost their jobs, she says. Illegal renting is dangerous and risky, with fines reaching up to €90,000. But legal renters feel they're being tarred with the same brush.
Both the new and the previous council put a freeze on tourist flats and wouldn't issue any new licences. The consequences have been bad for tourists, bad for local families letting flats, bad for small businesses, and bad for employment and job creation.
Today, privately rented flats outnumber hotel rooms. The Catalan regional government has reacted with a tax on apartments rented through internet platforms. They have to be registered, the offers must be time limited, and owners have to live there. Mass tourism may also be driving up rents and property prices. This angler shop was founded in 1850, but Daniel Calico will close it down soon. All around, traditional shops are being replaced by tourist outlets and cafes.
This neighbourhood is losing its identity. Now the commercial rents are no longer limited and have to be renegotiated. This is a very tough situation. Many businesses in this neighbourhood have to close because they can't afford the higher commercial rent. For a shop like this, you have to pay a commercial rent of around €5,000 a month instead of 1,000 before.
Estamos hablando de cambios de 1.000 a 5.000 euros.
Adding even more pressure is the growing number of visiting giant cruise ships. They bring thousands of day trippers who go on excursions around Barcelona, but who don't spend a lot of money in the city. We meet Núria Cuadrado, who co-edited a book called The Dream of Barcelona. It portrays a city with double-digit unemployment and growing inequalities, not just between the poor and the rich, but also between locals and tourists. Barcelona is approaching a tipping point, she says. The excess of tourists is killing tourism.
Some 20 years ago, with the Olympic Games, Barcelona was one of the most important cities in the world and a very, very strong brand. Today, Barcelona has slid in the global city rankings. The brand is still more or less intact and effective, but if the massive increase of tourists goes on, our good brand is going to be ruined.
6 a.m. and the pristine beach is ready for littering once again. Barcelona is not alone in having this tourist problem. The European Commission is preparing rules to regulate the private flat renting business across the EU, a legislative clean-up to clamp down on shady practices arising from tourism rental websites. The new rules are expected to be ready in a few months, but their ultimate impact on the excesses of mass tourism won't be known for some time.